Hello. Ukraine's president says a temporary ceasefire announced by Moscow is now on hold because of violations by Russian forces. Fighting was meant to stop in Mariupol and Volnovakha to allow safe passage of civilians out of harm's way. Mariupol has been under siege for days and has come under constant shelling. Let's take a closer look at the humanitarian corridor that had been set up. A route had been established from Mariupol, which is home to more than 400,000 to the city of Zaporizhia. It would have allowed civilians to drive along the corridor in their own cars or by taking a municipal bus. Earlier, Ukraine's president accused NATO of giving Russia the green light to further bombard and kill Ukrainians because it was refusing to establish a no-fly zone. Russia's foreign minister has hit back at Zelensky's speech, accusing him of wanting to provoke further conflict.
As Russia's war machine rages across Ukraine, the verbal offensive coming from Moscow is no less powerful. President Putin issued a clear warning to Western powers, saying any attempt to create a no-fly zone over Ukraine would be considered a direct military involvement in the conflict against Russia.
Now we are hearing that a no-fly zone must be established over the territory of Ukraine. It is impossible to do so over the territory of Ukraine itself. It is possible only from the territory of some neighboring countries. But any move in this direction will be viewed by us as a participation in the armed conflict.
Putin made it clear he wants Ukraine to have a neutral status in the power balance between NATO and Russia. This, he says, requires a demilitarized Ukraine, because its Western backers are intending to supply it with nuclear weapons if not stopped.
We actually know very little. We didn't know before he went on the Jewish Sabbath. It was secretive. We know that the talks lasted 3 hours. There's no picture, so we don't even know if it was one of those long tables a la Emmanuel Macron. And we don't know the content. What we do have is a lot of speculation. We know that Israel has long argued that it's good to have someone who has a foot in both camps that deals with both Ukraine and Russia. I heard a former head of the Mossad arguing today that every chance is worth it. It could be like the Cuban Missile Crisis in the 1960s, providing Russia with a ladder to climb down. That's presuming Russia wants a ladder to climb down.
Policing the skies of Europe on the eastern flank of NATO territory. These French Rafale fighters have been helping to secure the airspace over Poland since Russian forces invaded neighbouring Ukraine. The warplanes are accompanied by French Air Force aerial tankers. They keep the Rafales in the air and on patrol longer. These aerial dancers are part of NATO stepping up its defensive posture over Europe's skies at the edge of Ukrainian airspace. The alliance has ruled out imposing a no-fly zone over Ukraine. That would mean NATO forces engaging directly with Russian planes, which the West wants to avoid at all costs.
Sanctions have forced Russia's flagship airline Aeroflot to announce an end to almost all of its international flights. From Tuesday, it'll only fly to neighbouring Belarus, one of Russia's few European allies. Before the war in Ukraine, it used to fly to 146 cities in 52 countries across the world. What happens next to the planes that Aeroflot has leased from foreign companies but are sitting on the tarmac at Russian airports is unclear. But the European Union has given them until March 28th to end any rental contracts in Russia.
A new video is going viral which shows Russia detaching its segment from the International Space Station. The video shows Russian cosmonauts disconnecting the Russian ISS modules from the station. The video was released in the backdrop of the Russian Space Agency chief's warning to the US about the consequences if Russia walks out of the space station. The new propaganda video comes days after the US imposed sanctions against Moscow following its invasion of Ukraine. The 47-second long video shows Russian cosmonauts locking the Russian hatch and maneuvering the Zvezda module away from the flying outpost. The module provides living quarters and refueling capability for the station, while the US segment has the Japanese and European laboratories. The Zvezda module also has the capability of steering the station away from the space junk.
Now, the West is stepping up pressure on the Kremlin with not just economic sanctions against the country, but also by imposing strict sanctions on Russian oligarchs. Italian police have now seized property worth $156 million from high-profile Russians. Luxury properties, including villas, yachts, they have been confiscated under the sanctions placed following Moscow's attack on Ukraine. The properties have been seized across prestigious real estate locations, including Lake Como, Tuscany, Sardinia, while 2 super yachts have been caught in the country's northern part. Italian Prime Minister's office released a list of all the property that was seized, of which 65-meter-long yacht named Lady M is the most valuable.
North Korea fired at least one suspected ballistic missile to the east of the Korean peninsula on Saturday. That's according to militaries in the region and comes just days before South Korea's presidential election. Top officials in Seoul and Tokyo separately said they detected the launch. If confirmed, it would be the 9th this year. Japan's defense minister said Pyongyang's recent and significant development of missile technologies was not something his country could overlook.